Hi everybody, this is Agnes from No Sediment, and today let's explore 5 wines I will be buying in 2025. Every year I make a video where I talk about wines I will be buying more of. Since I don't buy wines as a financial investment, but rather bottles I plan to open and enjoy myself, these are wines I have recently fallen in love with, hidden gems that deserve way more attention, or classics I just can't keep in my wine fridge for long. So let's explore 5 wines I am buying in 2025, and perhaps you should too. Risking this video to be dedicated only to Loire Valley wines, I decided to jam them all up in one category, unfortunately. The truth is, whenever I think of white wines I simply want to open and enjoy or pair nicely with dinner, my mind goes straight to Loire whites. I love their diverse styles of Chenin Blanc. I have rediscovered Sauvignon Blanc for myself, and if you have watched some of my recent videos, you probably have noticed my love affair with Muscadet. I truly believe Loire is one of France's most diverse winemaking regions, and certainly anyone can find a wine style that suits their palate. For me, it ticks many boxes. Take Muscadet, for example. It is usually towards the lower side of the alcohol, and yet it rarely feels diluted or plain. In fact, the best examples pack a lot of flavor intensity, making them perfect with variety of dishes, especially if you love seafood and freshwater fish. Then there is Chenin Blanc, a true chameleon. It proudly challenges Chardonnay on its Burgundy throne in Savennieres, Sauternes in Quart de Chaume, and Germany's top Rieslings when in Vouvray. And the best part? It delivers in value. Lastly, let's talk about Sauvignon Blanc. Sancerre was a wine I enjoyed a lot when I first started my wine journey, but somehow I lost interest. Maybe because back then I could only afford cheaper wines, probably made from high-yielding vineyards that offered simple fruit and the immediate appeal my younger self was looking for. But I have since learned that Sancerre is so much more than that. Think of Francois, Cotat, Vacheron, and Gerard Boulay. I am telling you, these wines are seriously competing with champagne for space in my wine fridge. But that's fine because they never stay too long there, which is kind of shame because these wines can actually age and develop quite beautifully. Garnacha is this super exciting, heat-loving Spanish grape variety that for the longest time was overshadowed by Tempranillo. But I am happy to see more and more sommeliers and wine lovers appreciating its unique and kind of playful character. I actually featured Bodegas Frontonio from Aragon in my top 10 wines of 2024 video. But what started as a highlight has turned into a mild obsession. Garnacha is often associated with high alcohol, oxidative and leathery characteristics, and modest acidity. And to be fair, that in general can seem true, as Garnacha really does develop high sugar levels, is very sensitive to oxidation, and does not have eye-watering acidity. However, examples I have tasted from high elevation vineyards are packed with incredible energy, filled with bright, crunchy red fruit flavors, and captivate the palate with lively freshness. Take Bodegas Frontonio Telescopico, for example. It only has 13.5% alcohol and yet packs so much flavor. Just make sure to enjoy it slightly chilled. While Aragon is certainly one of OG regions for high elevation Garnacha, Sierra de Gredos is an increasingly popular area producing really fine examples. And no, I will not say Pinot Noir-like, because that lightness, elegance, and finesse is not monopolized by Pinot. We can see quite well that Garnacha can deliver that style proudly all on its own. When thinking about the wines I am buying this year, I had to ask myself, am I still buying champagne? And the answer is yes, absolutely. I have said before, champagne never stays long in my wine fridge, so I constantly need to replenish my reserves. But I have also realized that I like my champagne slightly evolved, not too tight or nervy, but also not yet developed that rich tertiary flavors. And this is probably why lately my love for Blanc de Blanc has been challenged by Champagne's underdog, Meunier. I find that it shines bright early in its life, offering great appeal. For a long time, we thought Meunier was just early drinking filler grape that faded quickly. But now we know that it is not the case at all. In fact, what I love most is that even the top examples of Meunier, which can age beautifully in the bottle, remain open and generous early in their life. The only possible hiccup today is that Meunier has become this trendy grape, attracting a lot of attention, which naturally leads to a price increase. So I am expecting some of my favorite labels to become more expensive. I wonder if this current focus on Meunier is driven by winemakers and grape growers who have started to recognize its true potential and are treating it with more respect, and in return it simply delivers. Some of my favorite labels you already know. We have tasted Chartogne-Taillet 100% Meunier together on camera. I also love Laert Frère Ultra Edition, which is heavily based on Meunier grape and offers amazing value. And of course, we cannot forget the legendary Egly-Ouriet. Given my love for Nebbiolo and Sangiovese, it would be rather naive to think that I would not eventually fall for the charms of Aglianico. And in a way, this grape might come as a complete opposite of the Garnacha wines I talked about earlier. Because we are no longer in the pale-colored wine territory, and we are no longer smitten by bright red fruit flavors. Instead, we are talking about deeply colored, rich and oftentimes full-bodied reds with a distinct tannic grip, elevated acidity, and ripe fruit flavors laced with earthy, leathery notes, potpourri, and crushed sappy Mediterranean herbs. One thing I love about Aglianico is its minerality, and by minerality I mean flavors beyond primary fruit, which is one of the key reasons I have always felt so seduced by Nebbiolo. And while my love for Nebbiolo remains strong, let's be real. Top examples, especially Barolo from great terroir, a single vineyard and a respected producer, have crept into the three-digit price range. And this is where Taurasi enters. It is responsible for great quality wines with marked acidity and firm tannin texture that can sometimes feel overwhelming in its youth. But much like Barolo, Taurasi can age for decades, something worth mentioning for those who love more tertiary-driven examples. Okay, I have confession. I'm kind of cheating here. Because technically the wines I'm about to talk are not Jerez, at least not by the official regulations. But hear me out. Recently, Jerez Consejo Regulador allowed to produce unfortified Fino and Manzanilla wines, which is great because this was actually the historic style of the region. Fortification only became standard practice around the 18th century. However, under current regulations, these wines must still reach a minimum alcohol level of 15% to be labeled as Fino or Manzanilla. And this is where I am cheating a little bit, because some of the wines I'm going to buy this year do not quite reach that mark. But that does not make them less exciting or inferior in any way. I have always loved the flavors and zestiness of Fino and especially Manzanilla, so getting my hands on wines that deliver the same flavor depth, freshness, mixed with that beautiful salinity, but without the higher alcohol content, feels like a real gem. For example, Luis Pérez Caberubia Saca 7 is just 0.5% short of the requirement, so instead of being labeled as Fino, it is simply classified as white wine. And there are many more examples to explore, both from well-established Jerez producers such as Bodegas Barbadillo, as well as smaller producers with already cult followings such as Bodegas Cotat 45. So these are 5 wine categories that I'm going to fill my wine fridge with this year. Let me know in the comment section below which wines you plan to buy more this year. And make sure to watch my other video on my last year's top 10 wines.